Hi, my name is Tracy Leela with soul2soul.ca. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Mercury in the 12th house within a person's natal chart. The downfalls of what it's like to have Mercury in your 12th house. Now, we do want to keep in mind the zodiac sign that is in your 12th house. That's going to play a role in the ruling planet of your 12th house in connection to, again, the watery undercurrent of Pisces. When it comes to Mercury, Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. So there's two aspects to the mind with Mercury. I am a Virgo, 12th house Mercury. So I understand the Virgo tendencies of Mercury to have to know, like, make sense of things, to put logic and reason, to break things down on such a deep, detailed, obsessive way that we actually break shit. Whereas the Gemini Mercury is a lot more kind of scattered and all over the place and receiving and just like computing and taking in a lot of data as well, but just in a different way. And so when we look at the downfalls, I'm going to keep it to one aspect of Mercury and leave the other aspect when we move into Virgo season. We're now approaching Gemini season. So I always think it's a great idea as we work through healing with the planets to really embrace the time of year that we are in terms of zodiac. And so this is a perfect time for Mercury energy to be talking about it. The main downfall I'm going to talk about today with Mercury in the 12th house is having a very difficult time putting words to the emotions that a person would experience reflectively having Mercury in the 12th house. Again, the zodiac sign for the 12th house is going to play a role. But overall, Mercury is of the mind. It's of consciousness. It is connected directly to the divine. It is of astrology. It is of divinity. And so the 12th house is of spiritual content, the collective unconscious thoughts. And you are so deeply spiritually gifted into, like, mentally as a 12th house Mercury person. I'm smiling because I don't want to get into the spiritual gifts because there's just, it's so hard to not talk about it when we talk about Mercury 12th house. But how do you put sense to all that watery, emotional, mutable, all over the place spiritual content that is so beyond the human mind to even put logic and reason into words? The experiences that a 12th house Mercury will have with this reflective energy along their life path is so profound and so out of this world that it's like there are no words to express the true experience of what's going on within. In the mind. And so Mercury is really powerful because it is connected to the mind, which is connected to the spiritual senses. And this is why I have a hard time just being a Mercury 12th house, talking about Mercury without talking about the spiritual senses. But we have to understand that all that's going on within the mind is not just your own. And that is so key to understand. A 12th house Mercury, it's key to understand your spiritual senses because we're talking about downfalls right now. The 12th house is, you're either going to fall and succumb to the detriment of a 12th house, the content, or you heal, you create understanding, and you rise above and you reap the benefits of the blessings given to you spiritually as a 12th house planet native. Each planet does come with its own spiritual gifts. And so Mercury is just, I mean, I can't wait to get to that video, but it's putting words to emotions is very hard. And that is a main downfall of Mercury in the 12th house. You have a very private nature and can come off very shy, very aloof, and it can be hard for you to let people into your life because there's just so much going on, and you're picking up on so much, right? So when we talk about the mind and emotions, thoughts, everything starts with a thought. You've heard that before. And then from there, immediately there's an emotion attached to that thought. It's like an immediate trigger point. You think something, you're going to feel something. You think something and you feel something, you don't like it, you change your thought and you feel something else, right? But a 12th house Mercury is on your day-to-day based routine out there in the world. You're around people, you're around situations, you're here overhearing conversations, you're seeing and hearing conversations and events and confrontations, whatever situations are happening, and you're taking all of that in spiritually. You're feeling the emotion because you're in tune mentally to everything that's going on in your environment. So it is very overwhelming. And this is the downfall, is that you take in so much having Mercury in your 12th house of your environment, because you're also just spiritually attuned and you have these gifts that if we don't heal from them with Mercury in the 12th house, it can be detrimental. It's very easy to fall into addiction. The 12th house is the house of addiction. So with Mercury, it's very easy to fall into addictions of alcohol and other substances to help you cope with everything that's going on within the mind. But when we do that, we can also trigger awakenings that are detrimental if we don't understand your spiritual senses, and if you don't understand that everything that's going on with your mind is not just you. This is so key for 12th house Mercury. There's a lot going on in your mind. You could easily be facing anxiety, and you could easily also be facing the collective unconscious information that you're swimming in, and spirit, which is actually spirit and the collective unconsciousness and not anxiety. That is a possibility as well with 12th house Mercury. And we assume it's anxiety because there's just so much going on in the mind. The mind's just going, but sometimes it is actually spirit and not so much anxiety. But if we don't understand that, we can fall in the wrong direction. With Mercury, the downfalls, and again, this is going to be connected with the spiritual gifts. Not to give away too much, but just understanding that your mind is so open in a sea of emotional and watery, soulful, collective unconscious information that you're having to deal with your ego mind. You're having to deal with the collective unconscious thoughts that you're hearing. These downloads are coming in. You're having to deal with possibly connections with spirit. You're having to deal with your environment when you go out in your day-to-day life, and having to cope with taking that all in mentally, and then having to process what you're having a hard time processing emotionally, that you need to withdraw. You need to have privacy. You need solitude. And so these are the downfalls of Mercury, is really just putting those emotions that you're dealing with to words, because without having a way to release and release everything that's going on within your mind, and to have a way to release the emotion by putting it into words, we hold on to it, and that's not healthy. So in the next video, I'm going to be talking about 12th house Mercury mastery. That's going to be posting in a couple days, but because it's so important, and I don't even want any time to go by without giving you a little something to start with before I dive into some tools, some really key tools, and not a lot. I'm not here to overwhelm anybody, but I want to give you one. And I will say that's journaling. Start to journal. Start a way and a process for you to take everything that's going on within your head and dump it out. Get it out of there. What that will do will help you to understand what's going on within your head because there's so much going on. It's going to be a release for you. I recommend having a notepad on your phone, an app where you can immediately write down information, feelings, whatever you're not understanding. Just write it out, write it out, write it out. And I also recommend you having an actual piece of paper, and more pencil's always better because it's made of wood and paper is made of wood, so you get that real earthy connection when you're writing. It's very powerful. But get into the habit of journaling your day. It doesn't matter if you're cussing out on paper. Write it out and get it out. Write it out, because what happens, I'm giving more than I wanted to, but that's okay. What happens is when you write down everything that you're experiencing within your mind and your emotions that you're not understanding, when you write it down, somehow it helps you to expand and bring clarity and kind of help you to put the pieces together to make more sense. You're going to have these like flashes of like understandings that are going to start to make sense for you. And that's going to make you feel a little bit more peace within your mind. So until next time,